Hey folks, I'm Chauncey Davis, and it is time for another Project Strawberry update. This one is huge, and we have a long way to go, and I have changed a lot of things this time. This is version v0.6, and I was talking to Elliott about her recent experience, and I had already had a vision for what v0.6 was going to be. And through the conversations with Elliott, I decided to try to pack a lot more in. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. And I still feel like I've got a couple iterations to actually clean this up before I give it to her, but it's very close. And it's good enough to share. And we can see over here that it already looks totally different. So one of the things I did was rework all of the non-interactive game screens. And even when you're in gameplay mode, some of the screens and elements, instead of being rendered inside the canvas and inside the framework we're using for the gameplay, we're using HTML and JavaScript to interact and put those essentially on top of everything. So a little bit of that, there's a little bit of the canvas, and they've all got to kind of figure out how to work together. So it's been an interesting ride. And then the other thing that I've done is I want to move really fast and start to build this out in a much broader way. But what I was finding was that the AI agent is not good at all at drawing SVG art. It's just not. Regardless of how fast Elliott works, just with the dynamic here, there is always going to be some sort of discrepancy in time where I am building something that just doesn't yet have the artwork. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I want her to feel the game before she spends the time to draw the artwork for the game. And that, I mean, it helps me too, because I think the biggest time suck is actually converting pen drawings to actual artwork that we're going to use. And then it's really cool because what we do, so my solution here, that's what I should say. My solution is that instead of having the agent draw and try to make the world mesh together with Elliott's hand drawings, we totally separate those things. So the done product, so to speak, is what Elliott has drawn. And when we're proposing something to her, we just draw this 16-bit sort of style of art, and it works really well because first of all, it looks kind of cool, but also it's great because it's really obvious what hasn't been created yet. And now I have a lot to fill in, but anyways, let's jump right into this because there's so much going on. So everything has essentially been reskinned at this point. And we can see I'm in a deploy preview because I haven't quite finished this out. So the toolbar in the top right was getting really crowded. It was, and I knew it was going to continue to grow. And so we can already see with this artwork, first of all, actually, let me pause for a minute and say, you notice that the screen is dark. The screen is dark because we have introduced the concept of time of day. Well, time of day has been there, but the concept of light and the sun, more or less. And so we still have the same tools, but it's all kind of cleaned up a little bit. So our day is over here. Our energy level is over here. I've overhauled the logic for how energy works because we were just draining it so fast. Elliott hated it. She said, I hate how I have to get 3 chops and I got to eat something. It's like, yes, that was annoying. But what's great is we can expand, and we have a toolbox now. So in our toolbox, we have everything we own. And this is a great pattern that I think it's really going to come in handy to be able to add more and more that we can discover. And we'll add to that idea of progressive disclosure of the game, which we haven't really even considered yet. And then throughout all of the tools, you can then make them your favorites, which give you the hotkeys from 1 to 5 up here. And then you've got your build items here, and they show you what it costs to be able to build these different things. So this was another really big change, is that last time we said you had to collect ore, and then you could turn the ore into a stone foundation and you could design the house. And I think that was really tedious for Elliott. And it was also, I started thinking about it, and I was thinking, I mean, just to come up with the mechanics and the gameplay to be able to design a house is really lofty. What if we had prefabbed structures that we could build and use as homes, and a way to start there? So that's what we did. And all we've got in here right now is a tent. And so let's refresh this again, actually, because I think there are some issues with some of the mechanics still. But anyways, we can go and we can collect some wood. Okay. Yeah, it's going to take a minute, huh? Oh, I'm too tired. I got to eat something. So we can go over here and we can say, what are we going to eat? We're going to eat seeds. Okay. And so we'll hit E to eat some seeds. We'll eat a bunch of seeds. All right. And now we'll go back to pick up that lumber. And then what I should be able to do. All right. So I need 20 lumbers to be able to build. So we're gonna chopping down all of the trees. Again, this game is great for the environment in more than one way. Holy smokes. We used to get a lot more. Now you gotta work hard. Let's see, I'm draining the energy, but not necessarily an absurd amount. Can grab some more nuts there, maybe down here. Now I have 20. Okay. So I can now build, and when I go to build, I now can build a tent. I could build a bridge too, but now I can build a tent. And so let's say I want to put my tent right there. There it is. Whoops. It looks really weird. But we can do that. And what we're going to be able to do is go into the tent to go to sleep, essentially, because that is not, it's not something we have yet, but it is something that I will put into play here soon. And this design is totally goofy, but we'll draw that, we'll figure it out. And then sleeping would take you to something like 6:30 a.m. the next day. Again, somewhat of a Stardew Valley sort of feel. But this, to me, I kind of came to this somewhat of an epiphany last week and realized that we were headed down this path of all things lead to Stardew Valley. Are we just rebuilding Stardew Valley? I don't want to do that. That's largely what we've done so far. And I think we do need to set up a bit more foundation so that we can have those rules in place, and then we're going to start to pivot. So this is pretty close, and there's some fun stuff we can do here, but we're not quite there yet. So I'm going to make a few more tweaks. Going to hand it back to Elliott. So I'm going to introduce the concept of sleep, and also working on being able to build a fire so that there are recipes. Now, once we do that, that's the foundation, and we're going to start to introduce some other elements, and maybe some elements that are a little bit more fantastical, that will kind of take us in a different direction, so that even though those roots are rooted in inspiration from Stardew Valley, that we can then diverge from that and do something very unique to us. I mean, I'm sure there have been a million games made. You know, you could come up with something with like, yeah, this game does this game does this. Of course, yes. I don't think we're going to do anything that is revolutionary in isolation. I do think it's more that the combination of all of these things makes it unique. And I think the part of it that's really cool, really cute, and really unique is that I can take hand-drawn artwork and turn that into this game as well. So a lot more to do here, but that's it for now. This is almost v0.6 of Project Strawberry. I'll be back in a week or two and with so much more to explore. I'm Sean C. Davis. Subscribe if you want to keep getting updates on this amazing adventure that I am on, and I will see you all next time.